Hello, I'm FCall, and I'm an aspiring game developer. John W. Campbell wrote a novella called Who Goes There, which later became one of my favourite movies, John Carpenter's The Thing. Campbell once famously said, "When you have trouble with the beginning of the story, that is because you're starting in the wrong place, and almost certainly too soon. Pick out a later place in the story and try again." And he said that to a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Isaac Asimov, so I guess it was good advice. But if you can start the story too soon, what happens if you start the story too late? Maybe, like me, you've watched other devlogs, and maybe you've noticed the same pattern I have. People go way too big, way too early. They try to make their pie-in-the-sky game straight out of the gate and end up burning out or having to drastically cut back on their vision. And that must be pretty sad. People like Toby Fox or Eric Barone, they're not the rule, they're the exception. I'm hoping that this won't be a sprint to a finish line representing some arbitrary accomplishment. I hope it isn't even a marathon. I'm hoping that this will be a gentle amble in amongst a bunch of fun ideas. I think, or I hope, that I have some pretty great game ideas. But I have a strong suspicion that if I made them now, I'd completely cack them up and end up hating my life because I just don't have the skill set yet to do them justice. Now, coincidentally, or well, maybe not so coincidentally since I picked the example to illustrate my point, in the last few years, an earlier draft of Who Goes There called Frozen Hell has turned up, which started at an earlier point in the story, so Campbell clearly followed his own advice. I've read it, and it's pretty good, but I can absolutely see why he started out a little bit further in. It's punchier, it grabs you by the jaffers, and it drags you into the story right out of the gate in a way that's hard to resist. That's the book, or game, that I want to create. So one day, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 6 years, I'm going to try and bring a really good idea to life. But to borrow something I hear a lot of stand-up comedians talk about, I need to get through the metaphorical year of booze. That's the disapproving sound rather than the you know what I mean. My first 5 games, have no business being any good, so I fully plan for them to be trash. Each game is going to focus on me learning 1 or 2 things. Most of the game will be a bit wonky, but I'm hoping to learn something about a particular mechanic and make that the focus of the game. Plato said, our need will be the real creator, or in modern money, necessity is the mother of invention. I'm not looking for quality, but I'm kind of hopeful that at least a couple of these projects, where I've limited myself to somehow make a subsystem the focus, for example, I don't know, how to make a settings menu, I kind of hope that they end in some genuinely interesting results. Graphics, sound, all of the presentation stuff, I'll worry about them as much as it seems important. I want these things to be appropriate to what I'm making, rather than dialed all the way up just because I can. Actually, that's probably my biggest worry, and part of why I'm intentionally limiting myself. Computers can do just about anything, and I suspect that in the same way there's that old programming adage of you ain't gonna need it, deciding what my game won't be is going to be way more important than what it will. The idea is that I'll make them quickly, I'm not going to worry about making them perfect, and hopefully, or should I say, we are going to learn a bunch along the way. And when I'm ready, those big ideas will still be waiting.